Welcome to PE Module Unit 2. This unit will cover components D, E, and F of Competency 4 for physical education. We've already covered components A through C, which are health and fitness promotion, active lifestyle benefits, and fitness methods. These components include developing motor skills, enhanced skill development, and modifying instruction. So let's recap what the objective is for this unit. As with the previous unit, our objective is to provide students with an understanding of the concepts, principles, skills, and practices of physical education to plan and implement effective and engaging physical education instruction through these following components: developing motor skills, enhanced skill development, and modifying instruction. Let's also recap what each component is before we elaborate on them. So component D is to develop motor skills. The beginning teacher applies knowledge of the movement, principles, and concepts to develop students' motor skills, including understanding key elements of mature movement patterns, like throwing, jumping, and catching, and various manipulative skills like volleying, dribbling, punting, and striking. Fitz and Posner stages of motor skill learning include cognitive, associative, autonomous. And those are at the beginning stages for cognitive, in the intermediate for associative, and advanced or fine-tuning stages for autonomous. Even though motor skills vary widely in type and complexity, the learning process that individuals go through when acquiring various motor skills is similar. Fitz and Posner proposed these three stages mentioned here, and let's elaborate a little bit on what each one is. So in the cognitive stage, this is that verbal. Movements are slow, they're inconsistent, they're inefficient. Large parts of the movements are controlled very consciously, and there's considerable cognitive activity required to complete these skills. Then moving up to associative movements, they're more fluid, they're more reliable and efficient. Some parts of the movement are controlled consciously, some automatically. Less cognitive activity is required at this level. Autonomous motor movement are movements that are accurate, consistent, and efficient. Movement is largely controlled automatically. Little or no cognitive ability is required. The cognitive stage is characterized by the learners trying to figure out what exactly needs to be done. There's considerable cognitive activity that goes on, and so when you notice that a student is at this level, you're paying attention to how to develop and get them to the next level of stage of skill learning, which is that associative stage. And so from cognitive into associative, we go from that verbal into that execution, into that practice stage. And so the associative stage is where that acquired basic movement pattern has been achieved. The phase here is now characterized by subtle movement pattern, not very conscious thought patterns in the cognitive where they have to really think, process, then do. Now it's a little bit more like intermediate, as it states in nature, and more reliable. It's more consistent because of that practice, that repeated effort. Then when you've gotten done with extensive practice, you have been going and going, you've gone into this motor stage, that autonomous stage. That is like a fluent way of completing skills. When you're fluent with whatever language, or fluent with whatever instrument, if you are learning a new language or learning to play an instrument, that fluency is almost effortless. There's very little thought process that goes into it. Same with completing a motor skill. In addition, movement production is very efficient. There's very little muscular energy. The body has become so conditioned to this that it takes less effort to complete the skill that they're performing. And so continued practice, fine-tuning helps you go and become more efficient and effective in completing those motor skills. This is one of the things that you're expected to develop through practice and feedback and learning. And so now we'll go to the next component, which is enhancing that skill development. The beginning teacher selects and uses developmentally appropriate learning experiences that enhance students' locomotor, non-locomotor, body control, manipulative, and rhythmic skills. In doing so, you're developing you're creating those developmentally appropriate situations, and you want students to understand if it's appropriate for their learning ability, then they have to know their limitations as well. So in an effort to enhance students' locomotor, non-locomotor, body control, manipulative skills, this requires meeting a student or child where they are. This means you must get to know the student well, and this will in turn enable them to reach those goals. Goals that are challenging, but goals that are achievable. Remember from the previous unit, we talked about setting realistic goals, short-term goals that students can achieve through consistent learning at their level and enhancing that skill development to get them to the next level and beyond. You want to seek out best practice information. Best practice comes from research, but also personal information. Ask the students, ask the parents. Compare some national and current national standards and expectations so that students have a realistic understanding of what they're expected to do as compared to their peers in the same grade or age group. And then this can facilitate their growth and their improvement. But understanding how to enhance those skills is acquired, again, through your own personal practice as well as theirs. In component F, forgive me there we go. In component F, the beginning teacher modifies instruction based on students' individual differences in growth and development. Developmentally appropriate practice does not mean making things easier for the children. Rather, it means ensuring that goals and experiences are suited to their learning and development, and they're challenging enough to promote progress and increase and maintain their interests. Young people at an early age experience succeed or fail type situations. And they should be given space to do so in a safe and nurturing environment. Vary instruction strategies and modify according to the needs and previous experience. With each failure comes a lesson, and with every success comes confidence. That concludes this section on Unit 2 of Components D, E, and F, Developing Motor Skills, which, to recap, is to apply knowledge of movement principles and concepts to develop students' motor skills, including understanding key elements of mature movement and various manipulative skills. And Component E, Enhanced Skill Development, which states that the beginning teacher will select and use developmentally appropriate learning experiences that enhance a student's locomotor, non-locomotor, body control, manipulative, and rhythmic skills. And then finally, Component F, Modifying Instruction. Modifying instruction based on students' individual differences in growth and development. You have completed Unit 2. Your next steps are to take the Unit 2 quiz and then move on to Unit 3.